Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I appreciate all of our witnesses participating today, but I'm kind of astonished that we're actually having a hearing on this fabricated crisis. You know, the title of this hearing is Save Social Security Now. And we've talked about a lot of things like current retirees don't get the benefits that workers do from a payroll tax cut, and that lower income workers are affected differently than higher income workers. Some people mentioned that the so-called HEROES Act is a good bill, that some workers don't have pensions, that there's differences between working women and working men, and that poverty rates are bad. But we did not hear any truthful plan that the president had ever said that he wanted to end Social Security. You know, since March, both sides of the aisle have worked in a bipartisan manner to provide relief for our constituents, workers, families, and seniors who've had their pocketbooks and livelihoods impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. In March, we came together to pass the CARES Act, which kept 51 million people employed, including 520,000 workers in my home state of Kansas. Additionally, it provided direct payments to seniors and expanded funding of services that they depend on, such as meals, housing, and medical services. I was proud to support this legislation. But Congress has not come together to pass a bipartisan plan to preserve and protect Social Security, which is what we Republicans want to accomplish. Therefore, the administration wanted to find a way to provide temporary, targeted relief to frontline workers by letting them keep the money they earn. The administration allowed businesses to temporarily defer the payment of payroll taxes, understanding that congressional action would be needed to make the Social Security Trust Fund whole. I'd like to remind my colleagues that the previous presidential administration supported the temporary payroll tax holiday twice during the recession. Even Speaker Pelosi in 2011 said that a payroll tax cut would be a victory for all Americans, for the security of our middle class, for the health of our seniors, and for economic growth and job creation. We currently have legislation introduced by Ranking Member Brady that would create a temporary payroll tax holiday from September 1 through December 31st, 2020 for all workers. Much like the previous times, H.R. 8201, the Support for Workers, Families, and Social Security Act, transfers money to the trust fund to make sure that Social Security stays solvent. I must admit, I wasn't an early advocate for payroll tax holiday as COVID first struck, but I see now how important it is for our essential frontline workers to get this benefit. This bill forgives the payroll taxes deferred by President Trump to help our working families, many of whom now rely on a single paycheck. Our workers deserve to have certainty and stability. That's why I'm a proud co-sponsor, and I urge my colleagues to join me in support of this legislation. And this bill actually solves some of the concerns mentioned by several of our witnesses today about whether people would get a payroll shock in the first of the year when payroll taxes would have to be paid back. So instead of scaring seniors and beneficiaries, which my colleagues across the aisle have been attempting to do, we can work together to pass real bipartisan legislation to help seniors. For example, H.R. 5306, You Know Your Social Security Act, would provide mailed Social Security statements to workers 25 and older, which would assist everybody in knowing how much they have in Social Security and help them plan for retirement. This legislation, co-sponsored by Chairman Larson and Mr. Buchanan, was reported unanimously from the full committee, but has not yet received a floor vote. Additionally, there's Senate Bill 3731, the Improving Social Security's Service to Victims of Identity Theft Act, which would require the Social Security Administration to provide a single point of contact to any individual who needs to resolve a problem with the SSA because of misuse of his or her Social Security number. This legislation has not been scheduled for a floor vote in the House, although both Chairman Larson and Ranking Member Reed have identical House version. With bills like this already introduced in Congress and even more needed reforms that are yet to come, we need to work together to secure the future of this program rather than stalling needed relief. I'm tired of playing partisan games with legislation trying to score political points. I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to strengthen Social Security and create lasting change for future generations of Americans. I yield back the balance of my time.